I was gonna say, did you figure out how to get chat pulled up? Okay.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of SAP Wrestling. I am one of your hosts, 617. The guy over here to my left is the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Puppet Master 2191, who's been watching wrestling since, well, quite frankly, since he was able to sit up. Actually, I believe wrestling was the reason that he was able to sit up.
True story. Very true story.
Back where it belongs, because it got all glitched out for some damn reason. What's going on, everybody? As you can tell by the image over here, we are doing a review. Actually, we're just doing a podcast discussing the Four Horsemen. No, we're not going biblical. This is not the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. We're talking the Four Horsemen of Wrestling.
Yes. Not probably. It is the greatest faction in wrestling history. I will go on the record and say that.
There has not been another faction, another stable that could literally keep up. They were larger than life, in your face. They were not afraid to brag about their fame, their glory, their riches. As you can tell in Ric Flair's promos that he still does, and Ric Flair's promos are still being used to this day by professional athletes world round. Crazy.
Correct.
It's crazy how one man, one group can have influence on so many.
And I was fixing to say, you said one man, and then before I could say anything and correct you, when you changed and said one group, legitimately just about everyone that has been a part of that group, whether the initial group or rebirth after rebirth after rebirth, like everyone in that group has always had some form or fashion of influence in wrestling, even still today.
Right. And it's funny, it's like a lot of people think, when modern day people think Four Horsemen, they only think about, what happened in, the Four Horsewomen in NXT. A lot of people don't realize that, the Four Horsemen formed back in the NWA days, and Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, and Tony Blair.
I think Jim Crockett days.
Yeah, back in the Jim Crockett days. Who was James J.J. Dillon.
J.J. Dillon.
J.J. Dillon was the manager. And all four of them,
AJ.
They didn't need, Brock Lesnar, you don't need Paul Heyman to speak for you to talk. These guys did it themselves. They were in.
And you know what? My favorite part about it is it wasn't just Rick that was talking. Occasionally, you would have Rick do the main promo, or Arn would do the main part of the promo. Tully would, Ole would, or if none of them were there, JJ could do it.
Right.
Out of all of them, they could all do the job and get it done. And it was one of those moments where, like you said, and in all honesty, Brock Lesnar doesn't need Paul Heyman to talk for him.
Right.
I mean, you stop and look at the promotions or the interviews that Lesnar did going into UFC 200. Clearly, he doesn't need Paul Heyman to talk for him. But wrestling world-wise, you don't have to have Brock Lesnar say anything. Let Paul do it.
Right. Lesnar's actions speak for himself in the ring.
Exactly.
And
And like
he's
that's
far from a horseman at that fact, because these guys could cut a promo, they can speak their mind on the mic and back it up in the ring.
right. And like, you look, the Four Horsemen, the Four Horsemen came up around the time of the Von Erichs,
Right.
around the time of the Freebirds.
They actually feuded with the Freebirds too.
Yeah, they did.
And one thing that a lot of people don't realize, when
And
these guys stepped in the ring, they were really good at injuring people too.
yeah, like they made sure everything went over and went the way that it should have. But you look at it and you see the Horsemen. They started in Jim Crockett days, and NWA territories. Florida Championship Wrestling, Georgia Championship Wrestling, all of these territories, and then Turner enveloped it all into one in WCW, and they carried on through WCW. Ole ended up leaving. Well, Ole left, and they replaced Ole. And I think the first member they replaced him with was Luger. I think.
Yeah, there was a whole storyline with Ole ended up going. I think it was Ole ended up going to his son's debut wrestling match. Yeah. Okay, so Ole missed a show because he was watching his son wrestle, and the faction used that against Ole and kicked him out of the group, and then they replaced him with Luger.
Yeah.
Lex Luger was like an up and coming. This happened I think it was like February of '87, and Luger was new to the company, and he expressed like a desire, like he wanted to join the Horsemen, he wanted to be in the group, and they decided to use, real life like they always do against them. And when Ole didn't show up for a show, they replaced him with Luger. They kicked him out of the group and then replaced him with Lex.
Correct. And it's one of those things where, okay, so, Ole's out. And I think the original Horsemen formed in '85, right?
The original Horsemen was from '85 to '87.
Yeah, and then '87 you had Luger, and then the next member was Barry Windham, and I think that was because I'm looking here to see where Windham came in at. Okay, so I'm wanting to say that Windham came in because in '86, '88, yeah, '88 is when
Arn and
Tully
left for
went to the WWF, and they were part of Heenan's family, and they were the Brainbusters.
Right. The Brain.
And then you had Flair, Windham. They continued on calling themselves the Horsemen. Luger was out. And the Horsemen turned on him, stating that it was, his downfalls, whatnot. Then everything happened with I think Arn and Tully, and they ended up going back into back in '89, I believe it was, maybe '90. No, '89. It was '89, December of '89. Yeah.
I know
Flair.
89 to '91. Sting and Sid Vicious were also in.
Yeah, and it was '89. December of '89 is when Flair, Arn, and Ole ended up bringing in, and they brought in Luger, or not Luger, brought in Sting.
Right.
And that's
thing is, at that time he was a long-standing rival too. He was a rival to the group and everything. And then It was pretty much a shocker. They shocked everybody when they decided to bring Sting in and make him a Horseman.
And there was actually some really good promos from that. Like, there was a really good promo that came from that with Sting and Flair cutting the promo simultaneously, switching back and forth.
Well, you know why they brought Sting in, right?
I believe that was to bring in, to do the turn and bring in Vicious Sid.
And there was something else behind it too. They were actually going to bring Tully Blanchard back in.
Yeah, he failed his drug test.
He failed a drug test in WWF. WCW heard about it and decided not to rehire him, so they had to go a different route. This time they brought Sting in.
Yeah, that was the whole. The Horseman was, it was going to be the original Horseman.
Right. And they actually kicked Sting out of the group because he challenged Flair for the world title. For the world title.
Yeah. But then
that was storyline. Sting actually wanted to be out of the group.
Yeah.
Sting was always better solo.
And I want to say that actually ended up leading to a War Games match.
Yeah. I mean, in the 89 to 91, they had feuds with Luke, Sting, the Steiners, El Gigante.
Yeah.
Who the hell was El? I know that name.
El Gigante.
Giant
that
Gonzalez.
was Giant Gonzalez.
I remember that because he had a feud with. He was the first or second Mania match against Undertaker.
No, it wasn't. I think it was like third or fourth. Because it was WrestleMania 9. Yeah, it was WrestleMania 9. It was the one in Caesar's Palace. It was the outdoor Roman themed.
I know in 90, Ollie retired from competition.
Yeah, Ole ended up retiring.
Barry Windham came back then.
Yeah.
And
but,
Sid
I
Vicious
mean,
was added.
Yeah, and then from May of '93 to December of '93, they ran again. With most of the original. I think Paul Roma was in it. And it was Flair, Anderson, and Roma, and they were calling themselves the Four Horsemen, but it was really just the three of them. And that was after Flair came back from the WWF. Because in 91, 92 is when he left for the WWF.
Who, Flair?
Yeah. Yeah, because that was because when he showed up, well, no, because he was in WWF for a year. So it was near the end of 91, beginning of 92, because he was at the Rumble in 92 and won it. Because that was the year the Rumble, the winner was getting the title.
Yeah, because in 93 they feuded with the Hollywood Blondes.
Yeah. But you stop and you look at it, and it was legitimately Flair comes into the WWF, and he shows up, and he's got the world heavyweight champion. He's got the big gold belt. He has, he legitimately has WCW's title at the time with him. And that legitimately was probably the first time that another company's title was out of place.
First time won't be the last.
Now, granted, he didn't throw it in a garbage can.
Right.
Like, it was actually used, and it was Heenan calling Flair the real world heavyweight champion. Because the big gold belt, that WCW world title, was essentially transformed from the NWA, the 10 pounds of gold.
Right.
Which was the real world title. That National Wrestling Alliance title was defended around the globe. It was defended in New Japan. It was defended in All Japan. It was defended in Puerto Rico. Like the NWA champion traveled the world and defended this title.
Right. That's why they're called the National Wrestling Alliance.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, legitimately, the moniker at the time, Ric Flair being the real world champion, he was a true moniker. He was the last one to have the NWA title before NWA folded. And he didn't lose it. But, you know, from May of 93 to December of 93, they ran the programs. Flair went on to feud with Vader.
Big Van.
Yeah. And then...
What is this Arn Anderson and Sid Vicious stabbing? Because it happened on their tour in England.
Anderson stabbed... Arn stabbed Sid.
What the fuck?
In the hotel.
That sounds like something Arn.
Legitimately, they kind of it all invoked from a rib, and then the one that got ribbed decided he was going to rib the other back. Well, now it was okay. Well, I'm going to one up you, and it just kept going. It snowballed into now someone is legitimately mad, and he came charging at Anderson in the hotel, and Anderson grabbed scissors, or he grabbed something sharp and that could stab Sid. So that is the stabbing incident, which, ironically, I'm going to plug Arn Anderson's podcast, The Arn Show. Check it out. He actually goes into detail on that entire story of the stabbing incident with Sid Vicious. Dude, I absolutely love The Arn Show. It's legitimately Arn Anderson giving his take on things that happened. The notorious retirement speech and the NWO mocking the retirement speech is covered in it. Every other episode is entitled Ask Arn Anything, where they literally take questions from fans through Twitter, and it is every other week's show. So 1 week is over a certain topic, and then the next week is fans asking questions. Boom. But I'm telling you right now, when you have some free time, listen to it, because hearing Arn tell these stories, because it's legit, it's Arn Anderson,
right?
Like it's not, you know, the person. It's not the person outside the character. It is Arn Anderson telling these stories. Now, yes, there's moments where he breaks the Arn Anderson character and he's himself, which technically Arn Anderson was him, just turned up and a little bit more violent. But after 93, there was kind of no real resemblance of the Horsemen until 95.
When they formed up to take on the end.
Yep. And the whole thing that brought that on was when Hall and Nash showed up and they attacked the locker room, They threw poor little Rey Mysterio like he was a lawn dart in the side of a trailer. They attacked Arn. They did this. They did that. And as they're loading people up in these ambulances, you know, Arn makes a statement. You know, I opened my eyes in the back of this ambulance, and here's Ric Flair and here's Sting, two people who've tried to tear each other apart, sitting in the back of this ambulance as me and Rey Mysterio are on the way to a hospital. And that's where the famous line that was actually taken from a movie. Arn talks about it. He took the line from Untouchables, but it's you send one of ours to the hospital and we send one of yours to the morgue. That's where that promo came to be, and it was, I believe, it was reformed with Flair, Arn, Pillman, and the fourth member ended up being Benoit. And that's when the 95-97 Horsemen showed up. And that was the main group there, which of course everyone knows Pillman ended up going over. And
WWF and feuding with
yeah.
Stone Cold.
Yeah, before his untimely,
And one thing that I have noticed, doing a little research on this, they like to team up with people that they feuded with.
Yeah.
Just to piss off the opponents, because I remember Vader was having a feud with Hogan and Savage, so he teamed up with Flair and Anderson.
Yeah.
And everything, and then somehow Vader beat Hogan in a steel cage match at Bash at the Beach, and then Flair entered and I guess he attacked Hogan?
Yeah.
And then Vader ended up snapping and going after Flair, and then here come Arn Anderson, and there's a big old brawl in the ring.
He legitimate. So the Horsemen's thing was they were going to get their stuff in, but they were going to wait until someone else beat you up, and then they were going to get their stuff in. They were going to get you when you couldn't defend yourself. Just so it was one of those moments of, we got the upper hand. Not only do we have the numbers, but you just had shit kicked out of you for 30, 40 minutes. So we're just going to kind of add insult to injury. The thing that I liked when Pillman left and went to the WWF or WWE, well, they were WWF at the time. They replaced him with, I think, Jeff Jarrett, or it may have been Mongo. And then
Kevin Green.
Well, no, there was a feud of Mongo McMichaels and Kevin Green, and they were feuding with Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. Mongo turned on Kevin Green, joining the Horsemen. And then at some point, someone left, and Jarrett was brought into the group.
Well, let's see. When the NWO formed, they teamed up with Sting and Luger to take on Hogan, Hall, Nash, and the fake Sting in a War Games match at Fall Brawl. And then Luger ended up submitting to Imposter Sting, Scorpion Deathlock.
Mm-hmm.
That pissed off Anderson, and him and Luger feuded this month.
Yep.
Jeff Jarrett came to the WCW from WWF, and then joined the Horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miss Liz joined the NWO.
Right.
That.
And then
Jarrett joined in 97.
Yeah. So he joined near the end. Then Jarrett was out, I think. And the enforcer spot was his Horseman spot was essentially given to Kurt Hennig going into War Games. And Hennig he wasn't giving I'll never forget the promo. Arn was cutting it, and he looked at him. He said, "We're not offering you a spot in the Horsemen. We're offering you the spot. We're offering you my spot in the Horsemen."
You talking about Hennig?
Yeah, and Hennig was then offered Arn's the enforcer spot.
Well, from
what I
read, Hennig was actually forced into the stable to set up a storyline.
No, he was. But the promo,
Oh yeah,
the
promo
promo
said
was
yeah,
Arn was giving him the enforcer's spot.
right, because Anderson was forced to retire due to a neck,
Hmm.
which led to the turn on Hennig turning on the Horsemen to join in September.
Correct. Which kind of, and that pretty much led into what would cause the final incarnation of the Horsemen
And
in
98.
'98, and I believe that incarnation was Flair,
Malenko, Benoit.
Malenko, Benoit, and Anderson, of course, in a non-wrestling role. I think. Um, but uh, you know, that's just the different amount of members. And when you start reading off the names that were members,
You see what
or,
it was?
yeah,
It
Mongo.
was Flair came back. He got Malenko. He got Benoit, and they kept asking Arn to come in and to kind of take over JJ Dillon's spot, but Arn kept saying
Yeah,
no. But finally, they finally convinced him to take over that spot, and they got Mongo McMichael.
yeah,
That made the final incarnation.
yeah. That was the final, which
Of,
in all honesty was not a bad incarnation.
right.
Mongo was a very heavy hitter. Um, you know,
Yeah, they also had Charles Robinson on there.
Yeah, Mongo was the enforcer of that group.
Right.
Um, and really, that enforcer could be switched between Mongo, Malenko, and Benoit, especially with Malenko Benoit being so technically sound that they were. Um, but beef wise was Mongo.
Yeah, I forgot. David Flair also wrestled with him.
Yeah, but I don't think he was really.
He wore the Horseman gear and everything, but he was never
Yeah,
considered an Horseman.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember that. I forgot about that because they always made a big deal about David Flair. You know, Ric Flair's son being in the ring wrestling with them.
right. But you know, you look at the list of names in there: Benoit, Malenko, Jeff Jarrett, Brian Pillman, Barry Windham, Sid Vicious, Sting, Luger, Arn, Tully. Like as you name the people that were horsemen, you're naming 98% of them are going to be in a Hall of Fame somewhere. There's going to be an exception for a couple. Well, there's going to be an exception for a couple.
Yeah.
You got Benoit with what happened with him, and then you've got the circumstances behind Pillman.
Right.
Because Pillman was supposedly, I don't know, wasn't there, don't know what was going through the man's head, was supposedly suicide from drug issues and depression.
Yeah.
That being said, out of that, you stop and you look at the other names on the list. All right, Mongo may not go in a wrestling Hall of Fame, but all four of the Horsemen, the original Horsemen, got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
I remember that one too because Triple H introduced.
I believe. I
remember at one point Triple H said something about. I think it was Flair or something. He's like, there's only one actual way to announce this or whatever to celebrate this. And he's like, for some reason, these damn fingers just won't go down.
My hand keeps getting a cramp, and these four fingers just kind of stiffen like this.
And then the Horseman music hits, and the original numbers come out.
And you look at, well, okay, technically not the original members because it was Barry Windham and not Ole. But you stop and you look, the Horsemen. It was the Horsemen faction that was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Sting has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Luger, I believe, has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Maybe. I'm pretty sure I've seen him at a Hall of Fame.
Luger?
Yeah.
It says here that Pillman's death was heart disease.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying
Father suffered from
the speculation was suicide and whatnot. The official reports was something entirely different, but because of it, I really don't think that Pillman will get inducted into the Hall of Fame, even though he should. Flying Brian, the Hollywood Blondes, the Loose Cannon. Everyone knows the damn call.
Luger's.
Oh my God, Pillman's got a gun. Pillman has a gun. Bam, camera goes black.
How is Luger not in the Hall of Fame?
I thought he was.
But X-Pac is, Big Boss Man is.
And that, I mean, it very well could be.
Yeah, because I mean, I found a list of them. You type in.
It could. Now, it could very well be due to the circumstances of Miss Elizabeth. I don't know.
Now, well, I mean, if that was the case, then Macho Man wouldn't be.
No, because Macho wasn't involved in that.
No, but he was married to her, though.
No.
Oh.
The death.
Okay.
Yeah, the death.
That's right, because they accused Luger of.
Yeah, of ODing her. Unintentionally.
Mr. T is in there.
Yeah. But, I mean, you stop and you look at it, and you got a list of Hall of Famers just for that have been a part of that group. Or that group wanted to work with because, hey, we can make money with these people. Or, hey, we can help put them on this next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just goes to show, like,
I never gave Andre an actual ceremony.
No, because he was the start.
He was the first to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and it was like a private banquet at the time.
Yeah, well, they did a video.
Yeah. But you stop and you look at the legacy, right? That the Four Horsemen helped innovate. Evolution. That was 2003, right?
Yeah.
And that was Ric Flair reforming a Horseman style faction with Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. Okay, there's 3 more names that are either in or will be Hall of Fame, right? With, I know 100% for sure Hunter is Hall of Fame because of D-Generation X.
Oh, you know, he'll be Hall of Fame by himself too. Because
yeah, he'll get a solo.
But
Batista,
they're gonna wait on him with him being
CEO
and everything. They're gonna wait.
But not only that, you stop and you look at it. Batista was supposed to be inducted this year, but thanks to COVID, that kind of we didn't get a Hall of Fame this year. Orton will be in the Hall of Fame,
right? And if his dad's alive, then he'll be inducting him.
Yeah, but then you stop and
inducted in 2020.
Yeah, but you stop and you look at it. The Extreme Horsemen. That was a part of Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, which became Major League Wrestling, which a lot of people know. And that was Carino, and C.W. Anderson, as well as Justin Credible and Simon Diamond. They were the Extreme Horsemen that were managed by J.J. Dillon. And Wyndham also joined the group for a War Games match. So, like, there's another stable that was influenced by the Horsemen and had a hand from Horsemen involved, J.J. Dillon and Wyndham. Then you jump over to TNA. Fortune. Ric Flair started a group in 2010, and it was another reformed version of the Four Horsemen. AJ Styles, Desmond Wolfe, Beer Money, which was James Storm, and Robert Roode or Bobby Roode, and Frankie Kazarian.
The glorious Robert Roode.
And I will tell you right now, there is a promo that happened amongst this incarnation of this stable that was Jay Lethal and Ric Flair, that if you've not seen it, you need to watch it because it is comedy gold. Because Flair is in the ring talking about Jay Lethal, this, that, and the other. And Jay Lethal comes out dressed in a very Ric Flair-esque suit with the alligator shoes. And he's not talking like he's Jay Lethal. He is talking like he is Ric Flair to Ric Flair. And they are going back and forth. Rick is fighting with Rick down to the point where Lethal, at the end of it, Lethal says something. And Flair just, like, he's blood red in the face. And he goes, "You can't say that line. That's my line." And Flair takes his shoe off and throws it at Lethal. Lethal takes one of his shoes off and throws it at Flair. It is comedy gold. If you've not seen it, you need to look it up on YouTube. It's absolutely hilarious and one of the best things that came from that. And the whole reason that spawned that was Jay Lethal was running the Black Machismo gimmick, where he was almost like the embodiment of Ric Flair. No lie, like he could talk like, or not Ric Flair, Randy Savage. He could talk like Randy Savage. Randy's brother, Lanny, Lanny Poffo, met with his brother and Jay Lethal, and then when everything happened and Macho passed, Lanny gave him the blessing to use this character because his brother loved how someone could literally mimic his mannerisms and his energy and his moveset to the T. Like, you watched, like, when you were watching Jay Lethal do his Macho Man character, it was like you were watching Macho Man, just modern times. And Flair didn't like it. Storyline, Flair didn't like it.
Right.
Thought it was an insult to legends that came before Lethal. And then Lethal came out, and now he was Nate. He was the nature boy. But then you stop and you look, and you got the Four Horsewomen, like the legitimate Four Horsewomen, not the Four Horsewomen of NXT or professional wrestling, but the ones that were deemed the Four Horsewomen by Horsemen. And that was Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, Jessie Manduke, and Marina Shafir. Like, they were the Four Horsewomen. They had the blessings of Anderson and Flair. You don't get any higher blessing of, y'all are this. than the two. And then you stop and you look and you've got the four horsewomen of NXT. Charlotte, Rick's daughter, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch. You know, it's and sadly enough, that's one of those that it would have been great to see the four horsewomen of NXT and the four horsewomen, finally just collide. But we didn't get that chance. Not saying that we won't, obviously. But, and I do kind of hope that we do get that chance of seeing that happen. Whether it be Charlotte and Becky come back just for that match, and then they're out again. Or Charlotte, Becky, and Ronda come back just for that match, and then they're gone again. Whatever. But that should happen at some point. But that's one of those things where you kind of you'll see where it goes. It may happen, it may not.
It's just funny because anywhere that the original members go, there's always a stable that joins up with the same attitude that the Horsemen had. Because I don't know if you touched on this already, but did you say in AEW?
Yeah, I've not touched on that yet.
Okay, we'll get to that. But yeah, the list here shows like the original members we discussed: Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Ollie Anderson, and Tully Blanchard, and they were in the group. And then later members in '87 was Lex Luger. Barry Windham had to stand from '88 to '89 and '90 to '91. Sting was 89 to 90. Vicious was 90 to 91. Paul Roma was 93. Pillman 95 and 96. Benoit 95, 97. And then 98 to 99. Steve McMichael 96, 97, 98, and 99. Jeff Jarrett 97. Kurt Hennig in 97. And Malenko 88 and 90.
Now, if you look at those dates, the date that Benoit and Malenko joined was exactly 1 year to the day when Perfect slammed the door.
September 14th,
like
97.
On the day.
Perfect left, and then September 14th, 98, 1 year, was Malenko and Benoit.
Coming back.
Yeah.
Or Benoit coming back and then Malenko
joining. Right.
And then you've got, their associates. They had several along the way. Butch Reed, Michael Hayes, David Flair, Kendall Windham, which is Barry's daughter. Hiro Matsuda. War Machine. Managers along the way. JJ was the group's manager, but you had Baby Doll and Dark Journey, who were Blanchard's. Pat Mullen. Yeah, Patty Mullen, which was a biased judge. Hiro Matsuda was a manager. I think he was their manager when they went overseas.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, he kind of filled in when they were in like the Japanese territory.
Yeah, because he spoke the language and everything.
Yes.
Help everything out. Woman.
You had woman who was a manager to Flair, Anderson, and Benoit. Elizabeth, same group. You had Fifi.
Flair's maid.
Yeah, who is actually ended up being the current wife that Flair's married to, Wendy.
Okay.
But yeah, you had Deborah McMichaels, who was
Mongo's wife at the time.
Yep, Mongo's wife at the time. Also ended up managing. Yeah, also managed Jarrett. Bobby the Brain.
Didn't she follow Jarrett over to WWE when he went?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember, she's the one that always would get up on the ring, would open her top up to distract the guys so Jarrett could
Yeah, that's where the king coined the phrase puppies.
Right, yeah.
But not only that,
when that shit was
yeah,
allowed on TV.
yeah. But then you've got Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was a coach for him in '96 at Great American Bash. Charles Robinson, the ref. You had Double D, which was Ric Flair's nurse, later his valet. Very original name, by the way, guys.
Right.
You can figure out why she was called Double D. Right. And then you had Samantha or Tori, which was David Flair's valet, which was Tori Wilson. And you look and there's a handful of people that are synonymous with that group, period. Of course, your main two being Flair, Anderson. If you look at the timeline, boom, they're there, except for the time that Anderson left and went to the WWE. And then when he officially, when he was forced to retire due to the complications of the neck injury and the hand, I think had it not been him losing hand, he would have been fine. Like losing the ability to use it. But you stop and you look at the championship accomplishments. NWA National Heavyweight Champion, one time by Tully. National Tag Team Champions, NWA, Ole and Arn. NWA Mid-Atlantic WCW United States Heavyweight Championship 5 times. Tully Blanchard, Lex Luger, Barry Windham, Ric Flair, and Mongo. There's your 5. NWA World Heavyweight Championship 6 times. Flair. You've got Feud of the Year, the Horsemen and versus Superpowers and Road Warriors. You have Ric Flair, Lex Luger. Ric Flair, Terry Funk.
You left out a few belts in here.
Oh, I ain't got there yet. Oh, wait, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
NWA Mid-Atlantic WCW World Tag Team Champion 4 times. With Anderson and Blanchard, Anderson and Roma, and Benoit and Malenko. The NWA WCW World Television Championship 7 times, with Arn Anderson bringing it home 4 times and Blanchard bringing it home 3 times. And
now, all I'm going to say, that TV title, that's that if you ever see the picture of Arn Anderson holding this weird-looking title that's got a red leather strap and it's silver, that is that NWA TV title. And that legitimately, that's the main title Anderson carried.
I loved how back in the day there were so many belts, so many championships. I mean, you had the World Heavyweight Championship, you had the Tag Team Championship, you had the Intercontinental, the European, the TV title, the Hardcore Championship, and at one point you even had the $1 Million Championship.
So here's an interesting tidbit on the TV Championship. In one of the Ask Arn Anything episodes, someone asked him if he ever wished that he had got a run with the main title. Anderson's response was no. He said, I carried the title I wanted. I wanted the TV title. Because that TV title, you was the main event on the TV shows.
Right.
It was defended on the TV shows, every TV show, period. He said, that meant I was reliable and I was a workhorse. I could go out and have a match with anyone for 30 plus minutes.
Right.
That's the title that meant the most to me, not the world title.
Right. And
it's true. That's like that's essentially what the Intercontinental Championship is. You have the Intercontinental title. It's the workhorse title.
Right.
That's the title that says you can get out there and you can go.
Right. It's the most prestige title.
Yeah.
It's like one of the only titles that's actually defended regularly. It's not just, you're the World Heavyweight Champion, you're the big dog, but you only defend it during pay-per-views.
But then when you get back into the accomplishments, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, that was Feud of the Years. They had the Feud of the Year for Horsemen, Superpowers, and Road Warriors.
Right.
Ric Flair and Luger carried 2 Feud of the Years. And Flair and Terry Funk. God knows what that one was, because that started with Terry Funk power driving Ric Flair on that table, and that table not breaking.
Right.
You had Manager of the Year, J.J. Dillon. Match of the Year, 2 separate times, Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes in '86, and then Ric Flair and Steamboat. God knows that was coming for '89.
'89, yeah.
And you can only imagine the matches that before everything was getting taped with Flair and Steamboat, where they say if those had made tapes, those would have got Match of the Year way before the one that did.
Oh god, the next one's the one I'm laughing at.
Most hated wrestler.
Most hated wrestler of the year, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair. That was I think that was the year they broke Dusty's arm.
Yeah, that was the year they injured Dusty numerous times too during their.
Yeah, but this was the one where they broke the arm, and it brought the. When he came back, it was the Hard Times promo.
Oh yeah. You don't know hard times, Daddy.
Yeah. But then you stop and you look. You got Wrestler of the Year, Ric Flair, 85, 86, and 89.
Yeah.
Ric Flair was ranked number 2 in the 500 best single wrestlers in the year. Right. Now this is crazy. He was ranked 2nd in the PWI's top 500 power rankings in 2003. This is when he was getting rounding that corner and the formation of Evolution. And Flair was ranked number 2. Now, if that doesn't say astonishment, I don't, or legendary. Of course, Hall of Fame, class of 2012. Wrestling Observer Newsletter, best heel, Ric Flair in 90. Best on interviews, Arn Anderson 1990, Ric Flair 91 94. Feud of the Year, Ric Flair Terry Funk. Match of the Year, and this is an interesting one. All of them are Flair, but you got Flair and Barry Windham in '86. You've got Flair and Sting in '88. You've got Flair and Steamboat in '89. This one should be a dead giveaway. Most charismatic, Ric Flair, 1993.
Of course.
Most outstanding wrestler, Ric Flair, 86, 87, 89.
I mean, you look at nowadays and everything, it's hard to find somebody that's just as charismatic as Ric Flair.
Oh, yeah. But here comes my favorite one. Reader's favorite wrestler, Ric Flair, from the year 1985 all the way through 93. He carried that every year.
8 years.
And then Wrestler of the Year, Ric Flair, 85, 86, 89, and 90. So, when you look at it, Ric Flair is legitimately Michael Jordan of professional wrestling. He can go back to back, not once, but 2 different times.
Now, I'm looking here at the championships. How many times has Ric Flair won the World Heavyweight title?
Flair has been
16?
heavyweight champion 16.
Okay, so because I'm in this case right here, I'm only seeing 14.
Now these are okay. So these titles that you're looking at, these are only listed while they were Horsemen.
Okay, that's why. So he won.
This
he won
is
14.
accomplishments while they were Horsemen.
14 of his fucking championships were won as a Horseman, and then 2 of them were won outside of the Horsemen, probably in WWE.
One WWE.
One WWE, and then one in WCW outside the Horsemen.
Mm-hmm. The one WWE, the '92 Royal Rumble, that was a world champion. That was 15, or well, technically it wasn't 15. It was in the middle somewhere, but that would mark number 15 for the one you're looking for. And then there was one when he was the world champion, and there was no Horseman in that time period where the Horsemen were not
right. And And that championship right there is proof that he could be world heavyweight champion and not have to have 3 other guys in his corner defending
Correct.
him and whatnot. Going out there and proving that you can do everything that you talk about without the stable.
Correct.
These
But I mean,
guys, they left.
That's like Arn Anderson in. Hold on.
I mean, it's like, and they weren't even like they didn't even know what the hell they were going to call themselves, and it just happened to be a fluke that somebody during a promo, I can't remember
Called
who it
them the
was.
Horsemen.
Right, he's like, we're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and then it just stuck.
I think Anderson did. Honestly.
I'm not here to toot my own horn, but toot.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's one of my favorite promos from Anderson. Anderson looks in the camera and says, I'm not one to toot my own horn, but toot.
And that was the funny thing about Anderson. That's why they called him the Enforcer, because at one point he could just be giving a straight up promo about everything, and then he could look directly at the camera and tell you exactly what he's going to do to you in the ring, and then go in the ring and do it.
Right.
It's like he was not afraid to be in your face about beating the ever-loving crap out of you. And then do it.
So, when you stop and look at it, Anderson held titles outside of the Horsemen as well. Right. There's tag titles that he held outside of the Horsemen. Him and Zbyszko. Him and Eaton. Him and Eaton were the tag team champions when they were members of the Dangerous Alliance.
Right.
Which a lot of people don't realize. Dangerous Alliance was Rick Rude, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Stunning Steve Austin, managed by Paul Heyman. I'm telling you, at some point we're going to have that episode. You just might as well prepare for it.
I've actually added a new topic coming in on in January.
There is going to be a Heyman episode, because I will tell you right now, I am a Paul guy through and through.
We'll have to do like a manager's podcast. I've added a new topic. I haven't put it on the actual. I put it on the schedule for here, but I haven't put it in Discord yet. But okay. On I think 7. Let's see, what did I do? Schedule 118 in January 18th. I decided to do stables.
Okay.
Like top stables, stables like NWO, DX, the Horsemen. I mean, we just did an entire podcast on the Horsemen, so we may, if we touch on them, it's going to be brief.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
But I mean, Anderson held a tag title with Paul Roma.
They've held every title, except for Intercontinental. Because that was a WWE thing, and you never really saw the Horsemen in the.
Correct. Anderson alone in 1991 was ranked number 9 in the top 500 PWI rankings.
I can see
Tag Team of the Year in 89 with Blanchard. Tag Team of the Year in 91 with Zbyszko. The Stanley Watson Award in 97. In 2003, Anderson was still ranked number 62, and he was not wrestling. And that's Anderson. He's also got he's got one-time WWF Tag Team Champions with Tully Blanchard.
Arn hasn't been inducted into the Hall of Fame by himself yet.
No. Only one of the Horsemen that has been is Flair.
And then the Horseman itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Individually, out of the Horsemen, only one is Flair.
How in the hell are you going to induct Mike Tyson before Arn Anderson? How are you going to induct Donald Trump before Arn Anderson?
Yeah, but you got to stop and think. Those are celebrity wings.
I know, but still, man. Still.
Like, there's always a celebrity.
They haven't had the influence in wrestling like these guys have.
But they also try to go around where their event, where Mania is taking place.
Right.
That's why when it was Sting was San Francisco. New Orleans, you had headline was I don't remember. I remember for me the headline was Mark Henry and the Dudley Boys.
You know, I find it.
And I went to that. I was there at that Mania weekend.
I find it funny that Drew Carey was inducted in 2011 to the Hall of Fame by King Tombstone Disease.
No, Pete Rose. That was Pete Rose.
No, but Drew Carey got it too.
I don't think Carey got tombstoned. No, he eliminated himself. He's the only member in the Hall of Fame that eliminated himself to escape
get away from Kane.
Pete Rose is the one who kept trying to sneak attack him and kept getting tombstoned every year.
I'm actually surprised that Sonny was inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Well, that was before all of that.
Her legal stuff and that's
You know what's crazy? Looking at Tully Blanchard's achievements. 2003 when Flair was number 2 and Arn was still 60 something.
Yeah.
Tully Blanchard was listed in there at number 52 that same year. Like that right there tells you the ability that they have there. But we were kind of talking about how, and you kind of touched on it, and I told you I hadn't brought that up yet. We talked about how the Horsemen kind of keep getting these reformations, this, that, and the other.
Right, without actually calling them the Horsemen.
Yeah. And you had mentioned that, I had brought up several times. AEW has this very, very loose shadow of almost a tease of a potential Horseman somewhere along the way. Of course, you stop and you look at it. AEW, you have Tully Blanchard, you have Arn Anderson there. Arn Anderson being the coach of a superstar, Tully representing a few superstars. And I say a few because there's 3 that he represents, one being a tag team, one single.
Right.
But there's been a few interviews where along the course of that interview with Cody has flashed a 4, the Horseman 4, not just but it was like a Horseman 4, scratching the cheek, wiping the cheek, wiping the brow, and he had the 4 fingers. You've had Shawn Spears cut promos, and he flash or a semblance of that 4 Horsemen 4, down to the point of now you have Shawn Spears, who is managed by Tully Blanchard, wearing the black glove like Wyndham wore, and Tully hands off this lead slug that he loads the glove with and hits him with an open hand palm strike like Wyndham did. And then you also have Tully Blanchard, who manages or represents FTR, aka or FKA, the Revival.
And there's one of the instances where.
And I'm telling you right now, when you look at the Revival, you see Tully and Arn. They run Tully and Arn. Like they down to using their spiked pile driver.
Right.
Yeah,
on stream now is the Cody
I
flashed
was
the
gonna say,
4 during the promo.
all I got is the spinning gold mic.
Yeah, give it a second. It just popped up on.
Okay. I'm just, as a side note, this is the first time I'm seeing you wrapped up in like a jacket with a hood on your head, and I'm actually with no sleeves and no beanie or cap on my head.
I mean, I've got the heater on. It's going to be in like the 40s tonight, but in order to keep my office clear from the clouds and shit, I have to keep fans going to keep the air circulating so it dissipates faster. Otherwise, it just lingers.
Yeah.
It's so damn humid here in Texas. It just sits. Like at some point in the middle of the night, I'll have to open the window in the bathroom and turn another fan on just to try and blow a lot of it out. But yeah, I mean this stable has been. I mean, it spanned over the course of 15 years, from 85 to 2000. And then little spin offs have happened throughout the course of history over the last 20 years within different organizations that these guys have been a part of. So, I mean, it's only a matter of time before something pops up in AEW. The only, almost like the only organization that I haven't seen it was WWE, but technically, it was in WWE. It was just in the NXT section with the Four Horsewomen, which is a subsidiary of WWE. So
Correct.
It wasn't the Four Horsemen; it was the Four Horsewomen.
Well, and technically, you did get a Four Horsemen in the WWE. It was Evolution.
Oh, yeah, they just didn't call them that.
Yeah. But yeah, I realized, I was still seeing you in your jacket.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I got to look, and I'm like, wait, why is the podcast? Why on my screen is it still near the damn beginning of this thing?
Shit,
and then
I pulled that.
but
I took that jacket off like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, but no, you're right. The image of Cody right there, bam. Right. That's the 4.
Foreshadowing.
Like that is the 4.
Foreshadowing.
And there's so much to that interview. And there's reasons why that was even being said, and he showed the 4 and whatnot. But yes, at some point, if you're going to have the rebirth of the 4 Horsemen, do you call them the Horsemen? Don't know.
I think the Horsemen.
I don't think they will get called the 4 Horsemen.
No, I think the Horsemen.
There's a major reason why. One, I don't think Cody will be like, you know what, we're going to be the 4 Horsemen.
Yeah,
just because he has so much respect for Arn, Tully, Flair, for that group. Now, will they have a name that is just as iconic as the 4 Horsemen?
Yes.
I've got a feeling yes they will, because they're going to have Arn and Tully involved in it. But not only that, the four men that I mentioned being Cody Rhodes, Shawn Spears, aka Ty Dillinger, whatever you want to call him, and then Wheeler and Hart. Ooh. FTR. I can't. I'm so not used to their new names. I still want to call them Dash and Dawson. But no, like FTR. FTR covers that whole Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson feel. Shawn Spears is very, very much like Barry Windham. It's not even funny. And Cody Rhodes is the modern day Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I mean, look what he's done. He created the revolution in pro wrestling that's going on right now. Now, did he do it alone? No. Did he do it by himself? No. It was him, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Tony Khan. But there's a revolution going along. That is not real.
TNAE WCW.
That is not real.
It's great though. It's
But you know
great.
what?
It
While
sums
we're
up
on
a lot of what's
while
going
we're on
on.
while we're on the topic, let's talk about this. When's the last time you've seen two promotions in the US working together?
Yeah, I haven't ever.
I haven't either.
I haven't either. But total nonstop all elite world championship wrestling. Come on, man.
See, that doesn't work because they're a TNA is no it's not their Impact Wrestling.
Right. But still,
I'm just saying.
and WCW is no more. But
Well, they couldn't use TNA because it's owned by Jeff Jarrett. They can't use WCW because it's owned by Vince.
your reaction when it popped was like, "That is not real."
And it's not real. That's bullshit.
You laughed your ass off when I said it to you, the first time.
Oh no, it's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. But
could you
what
imagine if TNA and WCW actually were actually real and they actually joined AEW and that actually became a damn thing?
So
here's 8 hours of wrestling on Monday night.
So here's what's funny about that. The night all that transpired with Omega and the running off and Don Callis saying, we'll talk about this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That same night, the rumor of WCW 2021 just caught fire.
Right.
Where someone was going to revive the WCW.
And you can't.
Yeah, that's
you can't revive the WCW because you'd have to buy the rights off of it.
You have to own the rights, and he's not going to give up those rights.
No, and even that, not only would you have to buy the rights, you'd also have to buy the entire library of footage that Vince has. You don't have enough money.
Well, no. They didn't want the library. They wanted the name and the logo. That was it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, you buy the name and the logo. I mean, that means Vince has to change everything that's on the library.
No, he just pays a royalty off the logo.
You know damn well that Vince is not going to pay royalties.
No, but I mean that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that this happened, everyone went wild with this whole someone's trying to bring back the WCW. This is going to be awesome. Like the people that believe that just because Impact and AEW potentially have a working relationship was hilarious.
All you got to do, change the logo up. You can keep WCW, just change the logo up and change the name up. Instead of World Championship Wrestling, be like Wrestling Championship World or some shit. Just flip it.
It'll still get dinged.
DMCA copyrights.
Like the copyright laws on that, they will eat them alive.
Vince has enough money that he could take them to court and keep them in court until they're bankrupt.
Not just that. Vince, the second that happened, Vince would have them tied up so many different ways that they would be in bankruptcy before they even started the organization.
Right.
Like the thought would bankrupt them.
We're bringing WCW back, and we're tied up in well, WCW is
what
dead.
happened?
It was nice knowing y'all.
We how did I wake up in debt? What happened?
Right. Hold on, we had $28 million to start this, and you're telling me now we have negative 40?
Like, I don't know what happened. I went to bed, I had a dream that I was going to recreate the WCW under a different name, and I woke up bankrupt.
Right. I mean, as much as people want to see WCW come back, people need to let it go. They need to let it go. So, Vince bought it, and you're not going to have another World Championship Wrestling. I mean, you right now you've got Impact Wrestling, which, I mean, I've never watched it, so I really can't say how it is. But then you've got AEW, which I've seen some stuff from AEW. And right now, Vince's competition is AEW.
So here's what's funny. People always say, "Hey, it'd be nice if WCW was reborn. If there was a new incarnation of WCW." Even now, people say that.
Yeah.
And when they do, like there's that brief moment where I legitimately stop. Especially when someone that I talk to about wrestling makes that statement, I give them this look of, are you just oblivious to the wrestling world? Like, what's the deal here? And like they'll ask me, what's that look for? And I'm like, have you not watched AEW at all?
Right.
Like, do you even know AEW is a real thing? And when they ask me why, I tell them, Wednesday night, instead of watching NXT, turn on, go on the TV, on your TV, go to TNT. Why am I going to TNT? Just Wednesday night, this time, go change your channel to TNT.
Let's do it.
And watch it for 2 hours. AEW is on TNT, which is Turner, which was the home of WCW.
Right.
Was created by one of the WCW's creative brains, offspring, that has so many influential things and influences and callbacks to WCW.
AEW is pretty much WCW.
It is. It is the rebirth of WCW.
Once they get more steam behind them and everything, then Vince is going to have his hands full trying to keep up.
See, and the thing about that is Vince already has his hands full, because AEW beats NXT just about every week in the rating.
Right. And NXT beats Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah. So if this new company that is just a little over a year old is beating them now, once you stop and you look at it, their world champion for almost this entire year, up until the 7th, was Jon Moxley. If you don't know who, I was fixing to say, if you don't know who Jon Moxley is, please crawl out from under the rock that you've been under, wrestling wise. If you're not a wrestling fan, hey, I understand. He was in the WWE. He was part of the Shield. He was Dean Ambrose.
The lunatic friend.
Then you've got Miro, who more than likely start of the year when they reset their rankings. It's not going to be surprised to see Miro in that top 5 ranking normally. If you don't know who Miro is, he streams on Twitch. See if he looks familiar. Give you another tidbit of information. 5 years ago, he rode out on WrestleMania in a tank.
With a ridiculous Russian gimmick. With a valet who is now the most hated woman in the WWE.
Well, who's getting bullied in the WWE because her husband decided to cut a promo and said, you can take that brass ring and shove it.
Which is funny because they're bullying her, but they have a strong anti-bullying policy and a stance on anti-bullying. So that makes sense, Vince. If you're listening to this podcast, somehow if it stumbles across your desk, you're a fucking idiot because you're bullying one of your superstars, but yet you're against bullying. Makes a lot of sense.
It goes back to the pipe bomb.
Right.
CM Punk just letting it loose.
Right.
That's another reason why I want to have a Paul Heyman episode. Is I watched an interview actually earlier today with Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
And it was talking about when he found out he was going to be paired up with CM Punk. So his and I'll just go ahead and say this now. So Heyman's contract at that point in time was him and Brock were coming in. They did the thing. He was exclusively and only working with Lesnar. The only reason they were going to be in was to build up to SummerSlam. Then they were going to disappear until February to build for WrestleMania. And somewhere along the way, okay, not somewhere along the way, CM Punk was their champion. This is how bright their creative was. We're going to take the hottest superstar that we have at this point in time. We're going to turn him heel. This is someone that the fans just love for being him. We're going to make him a bad guy. We want the people to boo him.
Right.
Who are we going to turn him heel with? We're going to put him in the ring with John Cena, someone who people love to boo regardless. First of all, you want someone that people love to cheer to be booed, and you're going to put him in the ring to turn him with someone everyone loves to boo.
Right.
Even though you say he's a good guy. The math there does not... 1 + 1 does not make 2 in that situation. So then it's like, okay, well, if we can't get him to boo him, what if we can just shock him? Make them gasp for air? How do we do that? Oh, we put him with Paul Heyman. Vince calls Paul. Of course, Vince and Paul don't really have a really good relationship at this point in time, and it has to do with that certain plane ride back from Europe. So he calls him, and this is Paul's rendition of this. Paul, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing good. He was like, are you busy? Do you have anything And then he just kind of keeps on. Like, he'll start, and then he stops, and then he tries to say it in a different way, and he stops. And then finally he's like, you know what? We're going to be in Chicago. Oh, yeah. Here's the other thing of the 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. We're going to turn the man that we want to make the people boo. We're going to turn him in Chicago. The one city you can't get him booed in. The city that he is from. We're going to make him a bad guy here. Not, hey, let's wait until the week after the Chicago show. We're leading into a pay-per-view that is going to happen in Boston, which is the hometown of John Cena. Well, close to the hometown of John Cena. That he still gets booed in. Let's just be clear about that. The man gets booed in his own home. But we're going to turn we're going to turn CM Punk in Chicago against John Cena, and the crowd's just going to hate him. Yeah, this makes all the sense in the world. Let's just be honest here.
Right.
So comes time, Heyman's going to be in the car that Punk runs to. Or I'm sorry, before we get to that, the phone call with Heyman and Vince, they're going back and forth, and Heyman goes, no, I'm not doing it. Because Vince just goes, I'd really like for you to work with someone other than just Brock Lesnar. And Heyman's like, no, not happening. My contract clearly says I'm strictly working with Brock Lesnar. And Vince is like, do you even want to know who I have in mind? He goes, no, not at all. Not happening. And he keeps on and he keeps on. And then finally Heyman goes, who do you really think you could tell me I want you to work with that's going to get me to say yes? He goes, well, hell, I was going to have you pair up with CM Punk. Heyman, he goes, without missing a beat, he goes, well, fuck, I guess I'll see you Monday. So then cut to Monday on that Raw. They get in the car. Cameras cut away, and they know they have roughly about 20 seconds, but the minds that they are have this feeling of what happens if this camera that's in front of us accidentally get switched too early. Then everything's going to be blown. The storyline, this angle is going to be shot, this, that, and the other. So they duck down to where if the camera does get, flash on, you can't see who's in the car.
Right.
Can't even see Punk's in the car, and you clearly see him get in the car. And he says, in this brief 20 seconds, there's a back and forth between him and Punk. And he goes, Punk looks at him, he goes, can you believe they fucking paired us together? And Paul Heyman goes, you realize this means we're both going to be fired within 4 weeks, right? And CM Punk goes, but can you fucking imagine the shit we're going to stir up in these 4 weeks?
Right.
And Heyman goes, they have no fucking clue what they've just done.
They just dropped the pipe bomb.
Like, they had Heyman and Punk knew it because the moment Punk came into the WWE, Heyman said, this is a main event star. This is someone that you will make money with. Why are you sending him here to development? We don't know who he is. We hired him because of the internet. We have nothing for him. We're sending him to you. We're sending him down to you so you can fire him. Because we have no idea what to do with him. Heyman's like, I don't fire people. I make them stars and send them back to you. You realize this, right? Lo and behold, now it's 2013. They're pairing CM Punk with Paul Heyman, who literally protected CM Punk and refused to fire him and told them what he was back when they first got him. And now you're going to pair them together. And CM Punk, is very much like Paul Heyman when it comes to promos. When they go to the ring, they really don't know what's going to be said, other than they're just going to say what's on their mind and wrap it into their story. So now you have 2 live wires that potentially are fixing to just blow everything to hell. But not only that, Heyman enjoyed it because he was the advocate for Lesnar, and he did all the talking for Lesnar. Not because he had to, because Lesnar could cut a promo, but because why have him cut a promo when you could just have, like we said earlier, his actions speak for him? He goes, but then on the other foot, when he's out there with CM Punk, all he has to do is make faces and hold up a championship whenever CM Punk talks about his legacy reign. And he goes, and the sad part about that is that title is about 40 pounds. He's like, I'm carrying this title, and every time he mentions something about the championship, I go from here to here, and then back to here.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I know, I see. And he's like, that was a workout all in itself. And the whole time, Punk is laughing, and I'm like, would you stop already and get to the point?
And Punk is doing that shit on purpose, because Punk knows that Paul Heyman's diet consists of McDonald's on every fucking city he goes to.
Right.
I remember that. Like Stone Cold interviewed Paul Heyman, and he asked him, he's like, I gotta know. He's like, what is the Paul Heyman diet? And Paul Heyman flat out said, he's like, I've always
McDonald's
had
everywhere
so much work to do. There's always so much I have to do. He's like, and it was even that way in ECW because, a lot of times we'd get to the shows and we wouldn't even know what kind of card we were going to have. So I didn't have time to go to my room, go to my apartment or whatever and cook a meal. He's like, and I wasn't married at the time. He's like, so I basically, the quickest thing I could think of is I just drive through any fast food. He's like, and 90% of the time, it was McDonald's. I'd go in, I'd get a Big Mac, I'd get a Coke, I'd get fries, I'd go back to my hotel. I would eat while preparing this card, and then 30 minutes later, go to the arena and write it on the chalkboard for everybody to see who they were fighting. and everything.
Exactly. But I mean that's the thing. Like, it was hilarious to hear him tell this story,
Right.
and it's just like, and in fact, I honestly I sent you the video earlier. Now that I think about it,
yeah. All right.
Yeah, if you hadn't watched it, definitely watch it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Hilarious.
I just been busy with WoW and shit this last week. Until like when we get done here and everything, I gotta jump on because I gotta finish some stuff out for tomorrow to get ready for shit. But
Yeah,
I've updated our schedule.
I'm just gonna say, I need you to hurry up, get off this WoW kick.
Shit, dude, it's gonna be like this for a while, man.
Oh,
all right, our schedule coming up. I've got the next 6 weeks up here. So next week, this Sunday is WWE TLC. So next Monday, we're going to be doing our TLC review of the pay-per-view. A week after that, on the 28th, will be our year-end review of wrestling. Not just WWE, we're talking NXT, TNA, Impact Wrestling, AEW, New Japan. I'm going to leave the New Japan and the Impact to you, since you're following them more than I am. So, and then
I'll tell you right now, New Japan looks like it is going to be just crazy. As far as predictions go.
Yeah, January 4th, first podcast of 2021. Thank God 2020 is almost over, but 2021 is not looking any better, and we'll get on that another topic. Our predictions for wrestling in 2021. And then on 1/11, I made some changes. This one's for you, Paul Heyman. So we're doing our Paul Heyman podcast on 1/11, 2021. 7 days after that, we're going to go over stables. We're going to have a big discussion about stables. That one will probably be the full 2 hour, maybe longer podcast. Depends, because there's so much stuff that we can go at. And then I just got this update a few minutes ago while I was typing all this up. On 125, we'll be doing the Royal Rumble review, because the Rumble will be on the 24th. January 24th.
Yes.
Right now, they're hoping to be able to put fans in the stadiums, but
it's not going to happen.
Right now, it's a 50-50 shot that they'll be able to, but more likely it's probably... And I also saw that they're also moving the venue that they're doing right now, because their lease will be up. But they're hoping by around the 4th or the 11th or whatnot to know whether or not they can have fans. It's probably not going to happen.
So here's the thing. They could have fans now.
Yeah. They just got to social distance.
Because, stop and look at it. NXT.
Right.
NXT is a mixture of the Thunderdome and a live crowd.
Right.
That's not wrestlers.
Right. AEW has live fans.
AEW. Ringside is their superstars.
Right.
Because they're in Dailies, which is owned by Tony Khan. So, I mean, they have a venue they don't have to sign a contract to.
Right.
They're in Daly's Place Amphitheater.
Right.
Which works out, oddly enough, works out amazingly for wrestling. But anyways, they're in Daly's Place.
Right.
The balcony or the seating, the theater seating is fans.
Right. For some reason WWE just doesn't. I think it's one of those WWE doesn't want to have just a few fans.
They don't want to do it at 20 to 40% capacity.
They want 100%.
Because right, and the thing is, it hurts them in the long run.
Right.
Because you're piping in crowd. Okay, Survivor Series.
I feel like I was watching a 2K19 video game.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say is Survivor Series. It is the man's. This is Taker's farewell.
Right.
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 If you can have 20 to 40% of a crowd in there,
it's better.
How many people do you think? No. How many people do you think are going to be in that arena?
Exactly.
You are going to sell that arena out in a matter of minutes.
Exactly.
Why? Because it is Taker's last time.
Right. You'll have people flying in from all over the fucking world to be there.
And the bad part is you wouldn't have to pipe in crowd noise, even 20% capacity, because that 20% that fits in there, they're going to make up for the rest that aren't there.
It's still going to be loud. Amen. Yeah, they dropped the ball on that.
Why not do it? If you don't do it for Raw, for SmackDown, but you do it for NXT, and we watched War Games.
It was loud.
Right?
For the few people that are there, it was loud.
They were loud.
It was loud.
There was no piped in crowd noise.
Glass and everything. You know, even one fan mysteriously threw a Reese's peanut butter cup in there. You know, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. You build your barricade like that, and let them go, exactly. And they will make your show. They will bring your show back to what it was, and your competitors are going to have that energy to feed off of that they're missing right now on Raw and SmackDown. Watch NXT. NXT is so much more entertaining because they have that live crowd and they have that energy. Right. They have someone to play off of, not piped in crowd noise.
Right. AEW is the same way. They have people that they can feed off of. They have the cheers. They have the boos for the heels.
Right. And granted, their entire front row is superstars. So right. They have that to where if they want to throw someone into the crowd, they can legitimately just throw someone in the crowd. No one's going to get hurt.
Exactly, because they know what they know.
And they're not going to get sued.
Right.
They're not going to get sued for someone getting crushed under a wrestler.
Right.
Why? Because they're wrestlers. They're catching this dude, make sure he's safe and they're safe too. So,
exactly.
Hey, it's entertaining.
Yep.
But right, that's my take. That's my take on that. I will now get off Puppet soapbox on that whole ordeal.
Right.
But clearly someone needs to open their eyes and pull their head out of their ass.
Right.
Because someone running a certain show in a big company understands, hey, we can have this.
Right.
It'll limit, but it'll work better.
Yeah,
as to where someone else doesn't.
Exactly. You got someone that knows and that wants to get
that same person
in and everything, but then, you got one that will take the wins when he can, but then you got the other one that wants, and he's always been this way, 100% or nothing.
Well, then that also goes to show.
That's why he sent Keith Lee down to the development.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to get to. He's on main event this week. Watch this week's main event and watch him do that spirit bomb.
Right, I'll watch that shit.
No, I'm dead serious. Watch it.
Okay.
Watch it. There's a depression look in this. You know what? No, I'll send you the gift that someone sent me of it.
All right, we'll take care of that. All right, chat. We're gonna go ahead and duck on out. We're nearing our 2-hour mark on this podcast. So, like I said, next week, tune in for WWE TLC review. If you watch it, awesome. If you don't, awesome. We'll fill you in. We'll let you know what all happened. Again, I'm one of your hosts, 617. You can catch me. This is on YouTube. You can catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/617, spelled SEV3N. Guy to my left, Mr. Sleeveless over there.
I'm Puppet Master. You can find me over on Twitch. There's also a potential you find me on YouTube. I'm debating that one right now. But anyway, you can definitely find me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/PuppetMaster2191. And I've not been live lately, mainly because I'm still dealing with computer issues, and so I don't have audio. But I do stream occasionally when I get the whim to. I sent you that gif.
I see. Yeah, he's just like, what the fuck am I doing? All right, chat. We will catch y'all next week for TLC. Till then, stay classy. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notifications over YouTube, and we will catch y'all later. Peace.
Peace.